Hello everyone, and welcome to my final exam presentation. The first term I have chosen to discuss is metacommunication, which is essentially talking with a person about your relationship with that person or communication about communication. I feel that I had tended to do that a little bit too much before I learned about this term with my partner. I would say things like, why do I have to think of things first, as in appointments for our son or our son getting a bath, and if I never took the initiative, would you take the initiative? And I realized that that is just needless criticism that actually just causes more tension in our relationship. And I also experienced it in a positive manner recently where I took leave from my place of employment because of my relationship with my employer. And I thought about it over that time, and I thought maybe a conversation about our relationship would do me good. And once I had that conversation with her, I returned to the job, and the dynamic has been so much better. And I wish that I had communicated about our communication a little bit sooner. The second term I want to talk about is argumentativeness, which is a disagreeing message, and the phrase attack issues, not people really resonated with me. Growing up, the word argumentative was a negative thing, and now that I've learned that there are two sides to it, I can see more clearly where it can be a negative thing. In the disagreement that I had mentioned in the previous slide with my employer, I attacked her integrity, and I see now, after that conversation that was productive with her, that I should have just addressed our communication problem and not her perceived flaws in my mind. And also with my partner, I would accuse him of being a bad listener or invalidating my concerns when I would talk about something that would stress me out. He would immediately point to the silver lining, so to speak, and not give credit to my concern. And once I was able to explain that better in a less attacking manner, I could see that his affect became much more receptive. So how can understanding these terms help us to be more competent communicators? I went back to chapter 1 and selected a couple of principles to tie in to answer this question. For metacommunication, I believe it's important to understand that competence can be learned. If you feel that your approach is harsh and you're like me and you believe that what the book says is true, that temperament and approach and the communication principles that a person is inclined to be more competent at are defined in part by genetics, which I do agree with because both of my parents have temperaments that can come on pretty strong and be harsh and make things personal. And I believe that I have inherited some of those weaknesses. Of course, I also believe that one can develop a skill set of competent communication, and I think it's important to have grace with yourself if you are learning to do that, and not to berate yourself for coming across in a way that was not productive or hurt another person, and to just keep working on understanding that and working on your skill set. And in terms of argumentativeness, understanding that argumentativeness is not just a negative thing. It is not a negative thing in principle to argue with somebody, but it's important to be able to attack the issue and not the person. And part of that is learning empathy. If you stop and try to understand and truly listen to what the other person is saying and imagine where they're coming from with their stance, it makes you less angry, which in turn makes the conversation more productive and trending to a more positive result. Thank you very much for watching.